bata sa China na atrasan ng truck.
Nako, nakaligtas naman kaya ang mga batang ito mula sa bingit ng kamatayan. Ang susunod na kaganapan, aming idedetalye maya-maya. Magandang gabi, ako po si Ricky Mathay.
Ako si Nina Richielago Flores. Ito po ang mata ng Agila International. Para naman sa mga headlines ngayong araw ng Huwebes.
Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. nanguna sa selebrasyon ng 123rd Labor Day.
Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas inaasahan na papalo sa pagitan ng 1.3% at 2.1% bago o itong buwan ng Abril.
Pakistan nakaantabay sa posibleng pag-atake ng India sa mga susunod na araw.
Ukraine at Estados Unidos nagkasundo na sa bagong rare earth minerals deal.
At Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu nagdeklara ng national emergency dahil sa malawakang wildfires. Pinangunahan ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. ang pagdiriwang ng 123rd Labor Day anniversary sa Pasay City.
Nagsagawa naman ng job fair ang Department of Labor and Employment o DOLE sa 69 na lugar sa bansa bilang bahagi ng Labor Day. Kinilala ni PBBM ang naging sakripisyo ng mga manggagawa at ang mahalagang papel nila sa paghubog ng lipunan ngayong Labor Day. Ngayong taon, ang tema ng selebrasyon ay Manggagawang Pilipino, kaagapay sa pag-unlad, sandigan ng mas matatag na bagong Pilipinas. Binigyan diin din ng Pangulo na dapat lamang na ipagdiwang ito at gawing pundasyon para bumuo ng mga hakbang upang matugunan ang mga pangangailangan ng bawat pamilya. Matiyak ang kaligtasan sa lugar ng trabaho at mapangalagaan ang karapatang makamit ang magandang kinabukasan.
Kayo po ang pundasyon at haligi ng lipunan. Hindi lamang dito sa Pilipinas, kundi sa iba't ibang bansa pati. Wala po kaming maitutumbas sa inyong sakripisyo, kundi ang tapat na paglilingkod at patuloy na pagsisikap na makalikha ng disenteng trabaho at makataong kondisyon sa paggawa upang maiangat ang kalidad ng buhay ng bawat manggagawa, mamamayan at pamilyang Pilipino.
Samantala, pinangunahan naman ng DOLE ang job fair na nilahukan ng mahigit 2,000 mga employers para mag-alok ng humigit kumulang 2,000 job openings, lokal man o overseas. Bukod sa job fair, nagbigay rin ang labor employment ng iba't ibang panlipunang proteksyon at suporta sa mga manggagawa para sa isang mas maliwanag na bukas.
Nagpakalat ang Philippine National Police o PNP na mahigit 59,000 na kapulisan para magbigay seguridad sa mga aktibidad ngayong araw. Batay sa deployment ng pambansang pulisya, 11,000 sa naturang bilang ang nakatalaga sa Metro Manila. Tinukoy naman ni National Capital Region Police Office spokesperson Major Hazel Asilo. Nagtalaga rin sila ng mga mobile patrol officers, gayon din ng mga pulis para sa anti-criminality operations and civil disturbance management. Nagpahayag naman din ang PNP na suporta sa selebrasyon ng Labor Day.
Inaasahan ng Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas o BSP na maaaring pumalo sa pagitan ng 1.3% at 2.1% ang inflation rate ng Pilipinas para sa buwan ng Abril. Batay sa estimates ng Central Bank, maaaring mas mabagal ito kumpara sa naitalang inflation rate noong March na 1.8%. Tinitignan ng BSP na maaaring maging pangunahing dahilan ng pagbagal ng inflation ang mababang presyo ng pagkain kagaya ng bigas, isda, gulay at prutas. Nakatulong din ang ilang araw na malakas na piso kontra dolyar at rollback sa oil products noong isang buwan sa pagbagal ng inflation rate sa bansa.
Makikita na muli ang lokasyon at coordinates ng West Philippine Sea sa Google Maps. Ito ay matapos itong mawala sa naturang web mapping platform nito lamang April 30th. Subalit, makaraan ng ilang oras ay ayon na ibalik na po ang hinahanap-hanap na label ng maraming mga Pilipino. Ayon sa Google, matagal nang nasa kanilang Google Maps ang West Philippine Sea at ang WPS label ito ay dinagdag para madaling makita ang naturang maritime domain ng mga users.
Nangako ang Japan na magbibigay ito ng 5 patrol vessels sa West Philippine Coast Guard bilang bahagi ng kanilang commitment na tulungan ang ahensya sa modernisasyon ng kanilang assets. Ayon sa PCG, inaasahan na made-deliver ang una sa 5 barko sa taong 2027. Bumisita si Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba sa PCG National Headquarters sa Manila bilang bahagi ng pag-usad ng maritime cooperation at diplomatic relations ng Pilipinas at ng Japan. Personal ding sinaksihan ni Prime Minister Ishiba ang isinagawang arresting technique demonstration sa pagitan ng PCG at Japan Coast Guard habang sakay sila ng BRP Teresa Magbanwa, isa sa pinakamalaking modern vessels ng Philippine Coast Guard.
Epektibo po ngayong unang araw ng Mayo ang pisong rollback sa liquefied petroleum gas or LPG. Batay sa anunsyo ng Petron Corporation, Pilipinas Shell at Regasco, nagtapyas sila ng piso sa kada kilo ng kanilang cooking gas. Dahil dito, ang regular na tank ng LPG na may bigat ng 11 kilograms ay nabawasan ng 11 pesos. Ang rollback naman ng LPG ay dikta pa rin ng contract price mula sa pandaigdigang merkado.
Susunod, Ukraine at Estados Unidos sumailalim na sa isang crucial minerals deal.
Paparating na ceasefire ng Russia gagamitin para palakasin ang frontline.
At approval rating ni President Donald Trump lumagapak. Magbabalik pa po ang mata ng Agila International.
NET Throwback. Meet Ozzy. Loyal, playful, and living the perfect life. Until one trip changes everything.
Wait a minute! What's going on, guys?
All of this for dogs?
From a dream vacation to the toughest dog prison ever.
So, guys, we're going to escape.
Can Ozzy outsmart the system?
My name is Ozzy.
Find out in Ozzy from our NET Throwback, only on NET25. This Sunday, 12 noon, here on NET25.
Let's net together, so NET25.
Trask Construction, your trusted partner in hospital building. Trask Construction.
Walang basihan at isang malisyosong paninirang puri ang tinatawag na China Espionage Threat Theory. Ito ang mariing sinabi ni Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Guo Jiakun kasunod ng mga ulat na sangkot umano ang ilang individual sa pang-espiya sa Germany. Ayon sa prosekusyon, nangangalap ng intelligence information si Jian Ji para sa China. Sinampahan din nila ang isang babae na kinilalang si Yaqi X na siyang nagpapasa umano ng masiselang military information kay Jian Ji.
中方始终秉持相互尊重、求同存异、交流互鉴、合作共赢的原则，发展中德关系。所谓中国间谍威胁论，纯属无中生有、恶意诋毁。我们敦促德方停止污蔑抹黑中国，以实际行动维护双边关系发展的良好势头。
Kamakailan ay ibinunyag ni US President Donald Trump na nakausap niya sa telepono si Chinese leader Xi Jinping. Maraming beses anya itong nangyari, subalit sa isang press conference ay inihayag na isang spokesperson ng China na hindi umano totoo ang kwento ni Trump. Agila Guzman para sa report.
Wala pa rin nagaganap na pag-uusap sa telepono sina Chinese leader Xi Jinping at US President Donald Trump. Iyan ang kinumpirma mismo ni Ministry of Foreign Affairs spokesman Guo Jiakun. Taliwas ito sa kwento ni Trump sa Time magazine kung saan sinabi nito na nakatanggap siya ng tawag mula kay Xi. Nilinaw din ni spokesman Guo na walang konsultasyon o negosasyon ng China at US patungkol sa taripa. Muli ring binigyan diin ni Guo ang posisyon ng China na walang nananalo sa tariff at trade wars. At kung gusto niya ng isang solusyon ng Estados Unidos, dapat na raw itigil ng US ang pagbabanta at pagbablackmail nito sa China.
关于关税战，中方的立场非常明确，关税战、贸易战没有赢家。如果美方真的想通过对话谈判来解决问题， 就应该停止威胁讹诈，在平等、尊重、互惠的基础上，同中方开展对话。
Sa ngayon ay hindi pa naglalabas ng komento si President Trump patungkol sa sinabi ni spokesman Guo. NJ Guzman, Washington DC para sa mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Nagbabala ang Pakistan na may natanggap itong credible intelligence na posibleng magsagawa ng military offensive ang India sa loob ng 24 hanggang 36 oras gamit ang kamakailang pag-atake sa Indian Kashmir bilang dahilan. Ayon kay Information Minister Ataullah Tarar, may tiyak itong impormasyon na plano ng India ang isang opensiba gamit ang insidente sa Pahalgam bilang palusot. Anumang agresyon ay tiyak naman nilang tutugunan. Itinanggi ng Islamabad ang anumang kaugnayan sa pag-ataking ikinasawi ng 26 katao sa isang tourist site sa Kashmir noong nakaraang linggo kasabay ng panawagan ng neutral na investigasyon. Subalit patuloy ang palitan ng tensyon sa pagitan ng dalawang nuclear-armed na bansa.
Pakistan has credible intelligence that India intends carrying out military action against Pakistan in the next 24 to 36 hours. On the pretext of baseless and concocted allegations of involvement in the Pahalgam incident. India's self-assumed hubristic role of judge, jury, and executioner in the region is reckless and vehemently rejected. Pakistan has been the victim of terrorism itself and truly understands the pain of this scourge. We have always condemned terrorism in all its forms and manifestations anywhere in the world. Being a responsible state, Pakistan open-heartedly offered a credible, transparent, and independent investigation by a neutral commission of experts to ascertain the truth. Unfortunately, rather than pursuing the path of reason, India has apparently decided to tread the dangerous path of irrationality and confrontation, which will have catastrophic consequences for the complete region and beyond. Evasion of credible investigation is in itself sufficient evidence exposing India's real motives. Consciously making strategic decisions hostage to public sentiments, purposefully trumped up for securing political objectives is unfortunate and deplorable.
Bilang tugon sa insidente, pansamantalang isinantabi ng India ang Indus Waters Treaty habang isinara naman ng Pakistan ang himpapawid nito sa mga airline ng India. Samantala, nanindigan si Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi na parurusahan ang mga nasa likod ng pag-atake. Tumanggi namang magbigay ng pahayag ang Indian Foreign Ministry. Sa isang panayam, sinabi ni Pakistan Defense Minister Khawaja Muhammad Asif na malapit ng opensibang militar mula sa India. Naka-high alert na umano ang Pakistan, ngunit gagamit lamang ito ng sandatang nuklear kung may direktang banta sa kanilang pambansang seguridad.
There is a likelihood that India will attempt an incursion in Pakistan and will engage Pakistan militarily. That is a possibility, a very clear and stark possibility. Cannot be ruled out. We are absolutely ready, at high alert. If there is a violation of our airspace or there is violation on the ground, if we are engaged in any way on the seas, we are prepared to respond. And inshallah, we'll give a befitting response to India. We have had meetings. Obviously, Prime Minister has chaired all these meetings, and our defense establishment has briefed us on the possibilities of an attack from India.
Ang rehiyong Kashmir na mayoryang Muslim ay matagal nang pinagtatalunan ng India at Pakistan na parehong may kontrol sa bahagi nito at ilang ulit nang naglaban dahil rito.
Australia needs to be able to defend itself. Ito ang paninindigan ni Prime Minister Anthony Albanese sa pagbabalik White House ni US President Donald Trump. DJ Angelo Cabansag para sa report.
Sumagot si Prime Minister Anthony Albanese na kailangan depensahan ng Australia ang sarili nito. Ito'y matapos siyang tanungin ng press kung ang pagbabalik ba ni US President Donald Trump sa White House ay nangangahulugan na kailangan suriin o baguhin ng Australia ang defense strategy nito.
You don't need a refresh to tell any Labor Prime Minister, the party of John Curtin, that we need to defend ourselves. I think it was a Labor Prime Minister who understood that the kowtowing to the UK, as it was then, wasn't going to defend Australia. UAP government, Conservative government, toppled out of office because people thought they needed the national interest defended, and it was Labor who did it then, and it's Labor that'll do it now.
Matatandaan na noong Pangulo ng Estados Unidos na si President Joe Biden ay mas pinalawak ng Australia ang military alliance nito kasama ang US. Kabilang rito ang kasunduan ng Australia, United Kingdom at United States o AUKUS Agreement, pagtatatag ng domestic missile production at pag-abruba sa isang defense project na tatagal ng 4 na dekada. Suportado ng mga mayora ng AUKUS at ginarantiyahan din ni Prime Minister Albanese na hindi kasali sa negosasyon ang naturang kasunduan kahit na nga ang magiging resulta ng eleksyon sa Sabado ay isang minority government. Idadaos ng Australia ang kanilang pangbansang halalan ngayong May 3 pero ngayon pa lang ay matunog na sa polls ang majority or no near majority para sa Labour Party ni Prime Minister Albanese. DJ Angelo Cabansag para sa Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Sumailalim na sa isang kasunduan na magpapatatag ng United States-Ukraine Reconstruction Investment Fund.
Thanks to President Trump's tireless efforts to secure a lasting peace, I am glad to announce the signing of today's historic economic partnership agreement between the United States and Ukraine, establishing the United States-Ukraine Reconstruction Investment Fund. This partnership allows the United States to invest alongside Ukraine to unlock Ukraine's growth assets, mobilize American talent, capital, and governance standards that will improve Ukraine's investment climate and accelerate Ukraine's economic recovery. The Development Finance Corporation will participate and help to establish this fund in collaboration with the government of Ukraine. Today's agreement signals clearly to Russian leadership that the Trump administration is committed to a peace process centered on a free, sovereign, and prosperous Ukraine over the long term. It's time for this cruel and senseless war to end. The killing must stop, and both the United States and the government of Ukraine look forward to quickly operationalizing this historic economic partnership for both the Ukrainian and American people.
Nais ng kasundo ang hikayati ng international community na magpasok ng pera papunta sa Ukraine. Ayon naman kay US President Donald Trump, nais nitong bigyan ng Estados Unidos ng kapangyarihan sa Ukrainian minerals deal, pati na rin ang pondo na gagamitin para sa reconstruction ng Ukraine. Ipinakita ni Ukrainian First Deputy Prime Minister Yulia Sviridenko ang larawan ng kanilang pagpirma sa kanyang Facebook page kasama si US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Sinabi nito na umaasa siya ang mahihikayat ng Ukraine ang iba pang mga bansa para magpasok din ng pondo para sa Ukraine.
Kaugnay ng inanunsyong 3 araw na ceasefire ng Russia mula 8 hanggang 10 na Mayo, sinabi po ng mga taga-Kiev na pinangangambahan nilang gagamitin ito ng Moscow upang mag-regroup o bumuwelong muli. Narito report ni Bernhard Gonzaga.
Nagpayag ng takot at pagdududa ang mga residente ng kabisera ng Ukraine ukol sa 3-day ceasefire na inaalok ni Russian President Vladimir Putin.
Насправді, я можу точно сказати, що в мене немає довіри до цього, тому що коли під час Великодня було оголошено це перемир'я, воно ж по факту не відбулося, були все рівно обстріли, тому насправді в мене немає довіри і немає відчуття, що це правда буде так, як про це оголошено.
Ang tigil putukan na nakatakdang magaganap mula 8 hanggang 10 ng buwang kasalukuyan ay kinakatakutang magbibigay oportunidad lamang na makapwesto at magpalakas ang hukbo ng Russia para sa susunod na pag-atake. Sinang-ayunan ni KYIV-based political analyst Yevhen Mada ang sentimiento ng mga residente. Anya, peke ang proposal na ito na nais isagawa sa Memorial Day ng Russia.
Головний адресат повідомлення Путіна про перемир'я – це Дональд Трамп. Тут немає жодних сумнівів. Тобто це продовження гри Москви з Вашингтоном на тему того, як закінчити російсько-українську війну так, щоб вовки були ситі і вівці цілі. І Путін в цьому сенсі використовує 80-ту річницю перемоги над нацизмом для того, щоб навіть взяв з 8 травня, так би мовити, за європейським зразком і дотягнув до 11-го. Але ця пропозиція така сама фальшива, як інші прагнення Росії завершити війну.
Dagdag ni Mada, marahil ay gagamitin ng Russia ang ceasefire upang makapahinga at makapaghanda sa isang pamatay na pag-atake.
Росія має перевагу. Це як в поєдинку, в єдиноборствах, в боксі. Тобто той, хто має більше вагу, коли він має перепочинок, він потім може зосередитись на тому, щоб готувати той єдиний вбивчий удар.
Noong Martes, sinabi ng Kremlin na hindi malinaw kung sasang-ayon nga ba ang Ukraine sa mukhaing ceasefire ng Russia. Noong Lunes naman, idineklara ni Putin ang 3 araw na tigil putukan sa Ukraine sa mga araw na magkakaroon ng magagarbong mga selebrasyon sa Russia bilang pagkugunita sa ika-80 taon na tagumpay ng bansa laban sa Nazi Germany noong ika-2 digmaang pandaigdig. Ngunit para sa mga naninirahan sa KYIV, iba ang layunin ng Moscow sa ilang araw на truce proposal nito.
Оце перемир'я – це чисто провести без усяких з нашого боку атак святкування оцього побєдобєсія і скористатися ситуацією, щоб логістично забезпечити свої бойові порядки напередку.
Взагалі-то сенс в мирі, а не вірю Путіну перемир'я, тому що він просто бажає собі на деякий час фори, щоб провести свій парад, як на мене.
Samantala, bilang tugon, kinwestiyon ng Ukraine ang pagtanggi ng Russia sa hiling nitong gawing 30 araw ang ceasefire at simulan na agad-agad. Bernhard Gonzaga para sa Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Ipinagdiwang ni Prince William at Princess Kate ang kanilang 14th wedding anniversary sa Scotland. Bumisita ang royal couple sa Ardura Community Forest at nakipag-usap sa ilang mga residente roon. Ayon sa royal experts, espesyal ang kahulugan ng pagbisita ni Kate at Prince William sa community forest. Layo nila na ipakita sa publiko ang kahalagahan ng pagbibigay proteksyon sa kalikasan. Malimit ding sabihin noon ni Princess Kate na nakatulong sa kanyang cancer treatment ang pagiging outdoor at nature-loving person niya.
Tutulong na po ang Italy and Croatia sa pag-apula ng wildfire sa Israel. Ayon kay Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, ang nasabing wildfire ay mabilis na kumakalat malapit sa Jerusalem. Dahil sa nasabing wildfire ay umabot na sa 30 katao ang sugatan, kabilang ang 12 na dinala naman sa pagamutan. Bukod sa mga eroplano ng dalawang bansa, ay nakahanda rin ang ibang mga bansang tumutulong sa pag-apula sa wildfire. Nagdeklara na rin ng national emergency at lahat anya ng mga Independence Day activities ay kanselado na.
Nagbahagi ng kani-kanilang mga saloobin ng mga tao mula sa iba't ibang panig ng mundo ukol sa naganap na car ramming tragedy sa Vancouver, Canada noong Sabado. Alamin natin mula kay NET25 correspondent Jane Kathleen Gregorio ang mga detalye.
The recent car ramming attack that took place during the Lapu-Lapu Filipino Festival in Vancouver, Canada, Sunday, killing at least 11 people, has drawn reactions from viewers across the globe. Let's hear from some of our viewers as they share their thoughts and opinions on this latest tragedy.
It is more heartbreaking for me because I'm also a Filipino. I feel for those families who have lost member of their families, and my heart is aching for them.
I really feel bad for the victims and the victims' families and everyone that it's affected.
The scenes that are coming out of Vancouver are absolutely horrific, with the murder of 11 Filipinos and dozens others that were attacked by a vehicle during Lapu-Lapu Day Festival in Vancouver. I would hope that the authorities in Vancouver would take these type of attacks seriously. As so far, the attack is not marked as terrorism, but I would hope that there's a deeper investigation.
It's such a horrific tragedy, and my heart goes out to the victims, the families that lost their loved ones, but it also makes us all realize how mental health is important, and this is a clear case of that, because if the person who did this, they already said he already had many runs-in with the government, with the police department, and also with medical professionals, then they should have taken more precaution with these cases. We truly live in uncertain times.
What can you say? Your heart goes out to people who go out for a festival or any kind of event, and somebody with either bad intentions or severe mental health issues chooses that moment to wipe them off the face of the earth. It's a terrible thing, and your heart goes out to people who've lost people and who will be affected for the rest of their lives as well by that loss. It's proof that the lack of mental health facilities, the lack of mental health treatment, and the lack of people actually watching and ensuring that people with mental health conditions are stable, taking medication, being treated properly. I think it brings it up because it happens so many places around the world.
If it was my family, I'd be heartbroken, and life wouldn't be the same anymore. It'd be way different.
As a Filipino, that did hit hard because it's like after COVID, then we were racially targeted. And so that was my initial thought, was that is this another ongoing act against my fellow Filipinos? And I do hope not. This one individual that decided to do this terrible act, killing all these people, and I read that there was infants that died as well, and I just feel for the families. It is terrible, but I just wanted to put it out there that not everyone with a mental illness is going to commit some type of crime. So that's my take.
Jane Kathleen Gregorio, Corpus Christi, Texas, para sa mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Lumagapak ang approval rating ni US President Donald Trump sa historic low 41%. Kumpara po yan sa mga nakaraang presidente ng nakaraang 70 years. Carl, kausapin para sa report.
Naging negatibo ang pananaw ng mga Amerikano kay Donald Trump habang nalalapit sa first 100 days ng kanyang administrasyon. Tuloy-tuloy kasi ang pagbaba ng approval rating nito mula pa noong Marso. Ang suporta sa pamahala ni Trump ay bumaba ng 7 puntos mula noong huling linggo ng Pebrero. 22% lamang ang sumasang-ayon sa pamumuno ni Trump, samantalang halos 45% naman ang hindi sumasang-ayon sa kanyang pamamalakad.
We're ushering out the long reign of special interests and the radical left lunatics, and we're ushering in the golden age of America. That's what we have.
Kinilalang intimidating tactic ang mga ipinatupad na polisiya ng kanyang administrasyon, mula sa pagsawata sa imigrasyon at sa pandaigdigang pagpapataw ng mga taripa. Nadismaya din ang sangkatauhan sa pagpapabago ni Trump sa federal workforce. Bumaba ang suporta sa kanyang pamamahala sa federal government ng 6 points mula Marso, habang 46% lamang ang may kumpiyansa sa kakayahan nito mag-appoint ng nararapat na tauhan sa gobyerno. Ayon pa sa ratings, ang mga hakbang ni Trump bilang presidente ay nagbibigay pa umano ng unnecessary risk sa bansa. Madami din ang nag-aalala sa tila pag-disregard at kawalan ng galang nito sa mga batas ng bansa. Sa kabila nito, hindi alintana kay Trump ang bumababang kumpiyansa sa kanyang administrasyon.
This is the best, they say, 100-day start of any president in history, and everyone is saying it. We've just gotten started. You haven't even seen anything yet. It's all just kicking in. They all want to come back to Michigan and build cars again. You know why? Because of our tax and tariff policy. You finally have a champion for workers in the White House, and instead of putting China first, I'm putting Michigan first, and I'm putting America first.
Isinagawa ng SQL Server Reporting Services o SSRS ang CNN poll sa mahigit 1,000 katao sa Amerika mula Abril 17 to 24 sa pamamagitan ng online at telephone interviews. Carl, kausapin para sa mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Inilarawan ng top US Democrats na banta sa demokrasya ang unang 100 araw ni Pangulong Donald Trump. Narito ang report ni Leo Velasco.
Noong Miyerkules, sagdan ng US Capitol, binanatan ni Senator Chuck Schumer at Representative Hakeem Jeffries ang unang 100 araw ni President Donald Trump. Ani Schumer, nagbabadyang maging isang diktador ang kasalukuyang Pangulo. At dahil anya walang umaalmang Republicans, inakusahan nitong kasabwat ni Trump ang Senado.
Donald Trump is trying to ruin our democracy. He has changed the Justice Department into an attack dog for his political enemies, the hallowed, fair Justice Department. He's washing it away. He is a would-be dictator. He wants to be a king. And again, our Republican colleagues in the House and Senate are complicit. So, Donald Trump's first 100 days are an abject failure. And we Democrats here and around the country will fight him at every turn.
Samantala, inusig naman ni Jeffries ang paraan ng pagpapatakbo ni Trump sa ekonomiya ng bansa at sinabing pinasasadsa dito ng Pangulo.
Donald Trump's first 100 days in office have been a disaster. Donald Trump and congressional Republicans are crashing the economy in real time, raising costs on hard-working American taxpayers and driving us toward a painful recession.
Hinamon ng mga demokratikong leader ang direksyon ng administrasyon ni Trump. Inakasuhan ng mga ito ang congressional Republicans na walang ginagawang pagtutol. Dagdag ni Jeffries, panahon na para pagsilbihan ng mga ito ang mga tao.
We don't work for Donald Trump. We don't work for Elon Musk. We don't work for far-right extremists. We work for the American people. And it's time for you to start acting like it or step out of the way.
Leo Velasco para sa mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Tumaas ang nilalaang budget ng ilang bansa sa mga gamit pang militar at giyera nitong taong 2024. Ayon sa ulat ng Stockholm International Peace Research Institute o SIPRI, ang pandaigdigang paggasto sa militar ay tumaas sa 9.4% noong 2024 na siyang pinakamataas sa pagtaas mula noong katapusan ng Cold War. Umabot ito sa kabuuang $2.7 trillion kung saan ang Estados Unidos ang nangunguna sa paggastos na may $997 billion na kumakatawan sa 37% ng kabuuang paggastos sa militar sa buong mundo. Sa tigmaan sa Ukraine at ang mga labanan sa Gaza at Lebanon ay nagdulot ng malalaking pagtaas ng paggastos sa militar. Ang paggastos ng Russia ay tumaas ng 38% mula noong 2023, umabot sa $149 billion. Samantalang ang paggastos ng Ukraine ay tumaas ng 2.9% sa $64.7 billion, kanakatumbas po ng 34% ng kanilang GDP. Sa Europa, ang paggastos sa militar ay tumaas sa 28% sa Germany na umabot sa $88.5 billion at naging ika-4 sa buong mundo sa pinakamataas na paggastos sa militar. Ang Poland ay nagtaas ng 31% sa kanilang budget habang ang Sweden ay nagtaas ng 34%. Ang kabuuang paggastos ng mga miyembro ng NATO ay umabot sa $1.505 trillion na kumakatawan sa 55% ng kabuuang paggastos ng militar sa buong mundo.
Today, Germany is a leading power in Europe and a driving force in NATO, making major contributions to our shared security. With troops along the eastern part of our alliance, jets patrolling the Baltic skies, and ships protecting key supply lines and critical infrastructure in the Baltic Sea.
We will continue to strengthen our armed forces, the Bundeswehr, and we will step up investments in our defense industry. We will work hard to meet our commitments to NATO's regional plans. We will continue to be Ukraine's strongest supporter in Europe to uphold its freedom and its sovereignty and its European future. And we will strive to make Germany, both its military and its infrastructure, the backbone of conventional defense in Europe.
Sa gitnang silangan ng paggastos ng Israel ay tumaas ng 65% sa $46.5 billion na pinakamataas sa pagtaas mula noong 1967 Arab-Israeli War. Samantalang ang paggastos ng Iran ay bumaba ng 10% sa $7.9 billion dahil sa mga epekto ng mga parusang pang-ekonomiya. Ang ulat ng SIPRI ay nagpapakita ng patuloy na pagtaas ng paggastos sa militar sa buong mundo na may mga bansa nga naglalaan na mas malaking bahagi ng kanilang ekonomiya para sa depensa na nagdudulot ng mga alalahanin ukol sa posibleng paglala ng mga tensyon at panganib ng digmaan maging sa pang-ekonomiya. Susunod, Israel nahaharap sa national emergency dahil sa wildfires.
Tesla board gustong palitan si Elon Musk bilang CEO. At Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang nagsalita para sa pagsuporta sa pagpasok ng AI. Mga detalye po ng mga balita niyan sa pagbabalik ng Mata ng Agila International.
Look what you've done. Old Mandy has been injured because of what you did.
What do you know about the valley over there yonder that the hippos claim to be their territory?
It's an interesting story. Once upon a time, that valley was rich with water, which supplied an old human village.
It's all going according to plan. Kimba, the water has started to flow again.
Let's get together sa NET25.
Ang mga maiinit na balita at rumaratsyad ang usapan ng bayan, ihahatid namin sa 100%! 100% ang pagbabalita! 100% talakayan! Lunes hanggang Biyernes! Alas 5 hanggang alas 7 ng umaga! Live na live sa Radyo Agila 1062 Mega Manila! At sa NET25 100%!
Sa NET25, let's get together. Sa NET25.
Nagbabalik ang mata ng Agila International at sa pagpapatuloy pa rin ang ating mga balita ngayong gabi. Binayo na malalakas na hangin at pabugso-bugsong pag-ulan ang Wellington, New Zealand. Sinuspindi na ng mga otoridad ang mga pasok sa mga paaralan, gayon din ang mga biyahe sa mga paliparan at mga daungan dahil sa bagyo. Inilikas na rin ang mga apektadong mga residente sa timog at hilagang bahagi ng isla. Nagdeklara na ang Meteorological Services ng New Zealand ng red wind warning, ang pinakamataas na antas ng alert ng ahensya. Inaasahan pa ng Wellington Region Emergency Management na maaaring tumama sa New Zealand ang malakas na hangin na kayang umabot sa bilis na 140 km per hour. Sa ngayon, nasa higit 200 mga tirahan ang walang paring kuryente dahil sa mga natumbang poste ng kuryente. Pinayuhan naman ang lokal na pamahalaan ng Wellington ng mga residente na umiwas muna sa paglabas sa kanilang mga tirahan at hintayin ang utos na ilikas sila sa mga temporary shelters.
Nagdeklara si Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu ng national emergency dahil sa patuloy na pagkalat ng wildfires sa Israel. Ayon sa lokal na ulat, higit sa 150 mga firefighting teams na ang dineploy para apulahin ang sunog. Nakapagtala naman ang mga otoridad ng 23 katao na nasaktan, partikular dahil sa smoke inhalation at sunog sa katawan. Nahirapan din ang mga bombero sa pag-apula ng mga wildfires dahil nakaaambag sa mabilis na pagkalat ng apoy ang malalakas na hangin na umiihip sa rehiyon. Inilikas na rin ang mga residente sa 5 komunidad na apektado ng mga nasabing wildfires. Inaasahan na lalaki pa ang pinsalang dulot ng mga wildfires na ito sa mga susunod na araw.
Kritikal naman ang lagay ng isang baseball fan sa Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania matapos itong mahulugan ng 21-foot high na bleachers o mahulog mula sa isang 21-foot high na bleachers sa PNC Park. Nangyari ang trahedya sa gitna pa ng laban ng Pittsburgh Pirates at ng Chicago Cubs. Kaagad namang nagpatawag ng medical personnel at staff ng PNC Park para bigyan ng paunang lunas ang biktima. Pansamantalang itinigil ang laro, subalit nang naisugod na ang lalaki sa ospital, ay itinuloy na rin ang laban. Kasalukuyang iniimbestigahan ng pulisya ang nasabing insidente.
Apektado ang buhay at kabuhayan ng mga magsasaka sa southern region ng Iraq dahil sa tuyot o tagtuyot na dulot ng climate change. Alamin natin ang sitwasyon sa mga residente roon. Si Love and Season para sa report.
Dahil sa tagtuyot, nanganganib ngayon ang kabuhayan ng maraming magsasaka sa Iraq. Hindi lang buhay ng mga taong apektado ng matinding init dahil pati buhay na ng mga kalabaw ay nanganganib na rin doon. Ayon sa isang residente sa southern marshland ng Iraq, maraming tao na ang umalis sa kanilang lugar dahil natutuyo na ang Twin Rivers ng Tigris at Euphrates. Reklamo naman ng magsasakang si Saba Ismail, dati ay mahigit sa 100 ang kanyang mga kalabaw. Pero ngayon ay nasa 50 at 60 na lamang ang bilang ng kanyang mga alagang kalabaw. Namatay ang ilan niyang alagang hayop dahil sa tagtuyot kaya ibinenta na lamang niya ang iba niyang kalabaw.
لا يجيبوا لنا ماي مثل من الدولة بس من البلدية تقدر توفر لنا دنكر شيء لا والله بفلوس الماي بفلوس العلف بفلوس هذا الطن ب6000 الجاموس يردلهن يوم ويكون 5 طنون كل بيت أو 4 لا طن ب6 وب7 هم بالضيم العلف يريد الشيء بعد واحنا وين نروح شغل ماكو عود هاي نبيع من هنا ونطي هنا نبيع من هنا كل هاي الوادم شالت نصها ضلينا احنا ذول هالشي شوف كم بيت قليل.
Sinisisi ng Iraqi marshland experts on climate change, tagtuyot, kawalan ng long-term management plans, upstream damming sa Turkey at Iran. Hindi na rin nila napapanahon ng domestic irrigation techniques ng mga magsasaka. Paliwanag pa ng mga experts, bumababa ang bilang ng mga kalabaw dahil sa kawalan ng mga damo sa paligid, polusyon, pagkakasakit ng hayop, at umiiwas na rin nila ang mga magsasaka sa pag-aalaga ng kalabaw dahil sa mababang kita.
هذا العدد انحسر وانحسر كثيرا نتيجة أسباب متعددة، منها على سبيل المثال قلة الإطلاقات المائية، تدهور المراعي الخضراء، ارتفاع ملوحة المياه أحيانا إلى أكثر من 15,000 جزء من المليون، ولا يستطيع الجاموس أن يعيش أو يشرب مياه تزيد ملوحتها على 5,000 جزء من المليون. هذا يعني أن على مربي الجاموس أن يتنقل من منطقة داخل الهور إلى منطقة أقرب إلى الفرات تكون درجة الملوحة بها أقل، أو أن يبتعد كثيرا عن الأهوار إلى مراكز القرى قريب الفرات.
Tinuturo ring dahilan ang pagbaba ng crop production at pagtaas ng presyo ng mga bilihin kaya hirap nila ang mga magsasaka na pakainin ang kanilang mga alagang hayop. Napipilitan tuloy ang mga magsasaka na pansamantalang ilipat ang kanilang mga kalabaw sa mga agricultural area pero hindi naman maaaring magtagal doon kaya umuuwing walang pera at gutom ang mga magsasaka. Para may makain ay wala silang magawa kundi ibenta ang kanilang mga alagang hayop na lalong nagpapahirap sa kanilang lugmok na pamumuhay. Gayunpaman, umaasa ang mga magsasaka na susolusyonan ng kanilang gobyerno ang tagtuyot sa kanilang lugar nang sa gayon ay muling umunlad ang kanilang kabuhayan. Love and Season para sa mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Dinala sa pagamutan ang 2 bata sa China matapos maatrasan ng truck. Ayon sa lokal na ulat, hinihintay ng 2 bata ang kanilang ina sa tabi ng electric scooter na nakaparada sa gilid ng daan. Makalipas ng ilang saglit ay lumitaw ang puting truck at tuluyang tinamaan ang mga bata. Pinaniniwala ang hindi naka-handbrake ang truck kaya umatras ito. Kaagad na sumugod ang ina ng mga bata nang narinig niya ang malakas na pagsalpok ng truck. Tumulong naman ang fire brigade para sagipin ang 2 bata matapos matrap ang mga ito sa ilalim ng sasakyan. Maraming netizens naman ang nagalit sa video at nais panagutin ang may-ari ng truck. Iniimbestigahan na ng pulisya ang insidente. Dalawa naman sa mga nangungunang kumpanya ng global nuclear industry ang lumagda ng kontrata kasama ang PAJ ng Poland. Rosel Feria po para sa balitang yan.
Nakipagkasundo ang US firms na Bechtel at Westinghouse Electric sa Polski Elektrowni Jądro o PEJ, isang kumpanya na pagmamay-ari ng bansang Poland para magdisenyo at magtayo ng bagong nuclear power plant sa Baltic Sea coast. Target ng Poland na bawasan ang pagiging coal-dependent nito, kaya kinontrata nito ang Westinghouse noong taong 2022 para itayo ang naturang planta. Tinatayang aabot ang proyektong ito sa 192 billion zloty o $51 billion.
Dzięki wysiłkowi obu stron można dzisiaj z pełnym przekonaniem ogłosić, że współpraca amerykańsko-polska w zakresie energetyki jądrowej ma się dobrze, lepiej niż kiedykolwiek wcześniej. Na pewno nie poprzestaniemy tylko, jeśli chodzi o energetykę w ogóle, na tej inwestycji w moim ukochanym regionie. Rozmawialiśmy też także o przyszłości małych reaktorów jądrowych, gdzie polsko-amerykańska współpraca też może być bardzo owocna.
Naniniwala naman si US Energy Secretary Chris Wright na ang proyektong ito ay pagsisimula ng isang long-term nuclear cooperation sa pagitan ng Estados Unidos at Poland.
It's the start of a long-term nuclear cooperation between the United States and Poland that will be involved in building future reactors, both here in Poland and in other nations across Europe, as that supply chain and that skill set is developed among Polish workers and American workers, and the two working together in concert.
Sinabi rin ni Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk na pinag-usapan nila ni Secretary Wright ang kinabukasan ng proyektong may kaugnayan sa maliliit na nuclear reactors maging ang liquefied natural gas. Nakadepende ang Poland sa Estados Unidos para sa supply nito ng iba't ibang uri ng gas. Samantala, bago matuloy ang joint nuclear project ay kailangan muna itong aprubahan ng European Commission. Plano ng Poland na simulan ang first unit ng proyekto sa taong 2028 at kumpletuhin ito sa taong 2036. Magiging fully operational ang nasabing nuclear power plant sa taong 2040. Rosel Feria para sa Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Naghahanap na ngayon ang Tesla board ng magiging kapalit ni Elon Musk bilang CEO ng kumpanya kasunod ng pagbagsak ng value ng company stock. Ayon sa ulat ng Wall Street Journal, mahigit isang buwan na silang naghahanap ng magiging kapalit ni Doge Chief at Tesla CEO Elon Musk. Kasalukuyang nahaharap ngayon ang Tesla sa pagbagsak ng sales at kabuang kita dahil sa kaugnayan ni Musk sa Trump administration. Nababalot rin sa kasalukuyan sa kaliwat kanang kontrobersiya si Musk dahil sa kanyang pagsibak ng libu-libo katao mula sa kanilang mga pwesto dahil sa cost-cutting efficiency efforts ni Musk para sa US government. Nababahala rin ng mga taong malapit kay Musk dahil tila hindi raw nito natututukan ang kanyang mga negosyo, kagaya ng SpaceX at ang satellite internet company na Starlink.
Well, Mr. President, they say I wear a lot of hats. It's true. Even my hat has a hat.
Been a tremendous help. You opened up a lot of eyes as to what could be done. And we just want to thank you very much. And, you're invited to stay as long as you want. At some point, I guess, he wants to get back home to his cars and his... Job. $150 billion. Think of this. Yeah.
Sa isang forum sa Washington, D.C., hinikayat ng CEO ng NVIDIA ang mga bansa na huwag katakutan ang artificial intelligence or AI revolution. Narito po ang detalye mula kay Terilyn Cunanan.
Noong Miyerkules, sinabi ni NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang na ang artificial intelligence ay isang revolusyon na hindi dapat katakutan ng mga bansa. Sa pagharap ni Huang sa The Hill and Valley Forum 2025 sa Washington, D.C., ipaniliwanag nito ang kasalukuyan at ang panghinaharap ng impact ng AI sa bawat industriya.
We now internalize that AI is likely going to be quite an extraordinary industrial revolution in the sense that this new technology is going to enable a new industry that I just mentioned, AI factories, the production of intelligence, but it's going to go back and revolutionize and transform every other industry. And so all of these tokens are going to go into healthcare and education. One of my favorites is education. I use it every day for education. Financial services, engineering. We use AI every day for software programming and supply chain management. It's about to go into manufacturing and so on and so forth. And so when you think about it from these three layers, it's very clear this is as transformative, as impactful as electricity was before, and it's going to revolutionize every industry. So it's an industrial revolution.
Namuhunan ng husto ang NVIDIA sa AI at nagpaplano itong magtayo ng AI servers na nagkakahalaga ng $500 billion dito sa Estados Unidos sa darating na 4 na taon. Ito ay sa tulong ng partners nito tulad ng TSMC. Ani Huang, ang tagumpay ng AI revolution ay nakasalalay sa mga bansang nais gamitin ito.
The winners of the last industrial revolution wasn't the country that invented it. It was the country that applied it. And the United States applied steel, applied energy faster than any country. Everybody else was worried about things like labor and horses being replaced by cars and those kind of matters. But the United States we just took it and ran with it. And so the infrastructural layer above that is about the application of the technology. It's about not being afraid of it, wanting to engage it. Reskilling our workforce so that we're able to apply it.
Terilyn Cunanan sa Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, On Point.
Sa pagpasok naman ng Western Conference Playoffs bilang number 3 seed, ang napakainit na Los Angeles Lakers ay biglang lumamig na ma-eliminate sa Game 5 laban sa Minnesota Timberwolves. Mula sa Los Angeles, California, narito si NET25 correspondent Eva Basalyahe para sa detalye.
Game 5 Lakers versus the Timberwolves sees LA eliminated from the playoffs. Despite being the odds-on favorites, the mighty Los Angeles squad could not overcome Minnesota's surging momentum. For most of the contest, the Lakers had no answer for the Wolves' active hands and hustle plays, outscoring LA 31-22 in the first quarter alone, with Minnesota at one point draining a trio of unanswered three-pointers. In the second, the Lakers made an impressive 11-2 run, but couldn't quite close the gap and headed into halftime still down 59-49. To the third we go, with LA finally showing signs of life, dropping 31 points to Minnesota's 22. The Lakers take their first lead of the game, but couldn't hold on to it and end the quarter still down by 1. The fourth quarter saw a flurry of lead changes, but ultimately Minnesota's fearless attacks at the rim proved decisive. The Timberwolves beat the Lakers 103-96.
Certainly disappointed and not something that I ever envisioned with this team. You know, after losing the first round, give Minnesota a lot of credit. They're a really good basketball team.
Every season that I did not make it to the finals or did not win a championship has been a disappointment. It'll be the same off-season of disappointment and unfulfillment. We'll have an opportunity to play longer and give yourself an opportunity to play for the Larry O'Brien Trophy, so nothing changes for me.
For now, the purple and gold lights at Crypto.com Arena are dimmed as LA heads into the break to rest, reflect, and when the time is right, gear up for the start of another thrilling NBA season. Reporting from the Crypto.com Arena in Los Angeles, California, Eva Basalyahe for Matanang Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Nako, ito balitang sisiw. Para po hindi maging dependent ang isang baby vulture sa mga tao, ay gumagamit ang Bronx Zoo sa New York ng hand puppet ng isang tunay na vulture para pakainin ang mga sisiw nito. Ayon sa management ng Bronx Zoo, ginawa nila ang ganitong uri ng nursing sa mga baby vultures dahil may mga pagkakataon na pinababayaan ng mga king vultures ang kanilang mga anak. Nakatutulong din ito para hindi maimprenta o tratuhin ang mga baby chicks bilang magulang nila ang isang tao. Tinukoy naman ni Bronx Zoo Curator of Ornithology Chuck Serbini, higit sa 4 na dekada na nila itong ginagawa para magpalaki ng mga critically endangered bird species. Isang halimbawa na rito ang pagpapalaki nila sa 3 Andean condor chicks, gayon din ang isang Californian condor.
At ito po, na-videohan ng isang paddleboard ang close encounter niya kasama mga orca whale habang pumapalaot. Makikita sa video ang pag-iingat ng babae upang hindi naman niya matamaan ang grupo ng mga balyena. Ang grupo ng mga orca whale na tinatawag bilang pod of orcas ay madalas na lumilipat ng lugar upang sundan ang migratory patterns ng mga gray seal. Ang mga young gray seal, ang pangunahing pagkain ng mga orca, kasama na ang mga walrus, sea lion, penguin, pusit. Ako, pusit mo kami yung matandaan ako dyan, Nina, ha? Sea turtle at iba pa, nagpapalit ang diet ng mga hayop na ito base sa panahon. At dahil Thursday ngayon, Throwback Thursday, naalala ko yung best joke ni Nina. Yan kasi naman,
Gusto ko yung best, tsaka gusto ko na gustong-gusto mo yung joke. Diba? Kulang ang 1 o 2 beses.
Yes, yes. Kasi yung mga ngayon lang nakapanood, ayan. Sige nga, ano ba yung tungkol sa ano? Yung seafood joke. Ay, seafood joke. Underwater secret joke.
Sige na nga, Throwback Thursday.
Throwback.
Favorite ko yan
ha?
eh.
Favorite ko.
Nagkataong, sige, damay na rin audience natin. Sige, ano nga ba ito? Ayan, yan.
Ano?
Yan, ito ay pusit.
Oh.
Pag ganyan, ano na yan?
Ano?
Yan ay opposite. Oh.
Di ba, benta pa rin sa akin.
Pero meron kang joke eh, sabi mo eh. So pagbibigyan ko rin yan.
Hindi ako sure kung ganyan
Sige, tatawa
kapatok.
ako.
Pero di ba, ano ba yung paano ba nagko-communicate ngayon yung mga undersea creatures?
Ay, parang
Modern
gusto ko
day
yan. Di ba yan? Sonar, whatever.
Dati sonar, di ba?
Masyado seryoso. O paano?
Shell phone.
Gamit ang cellphone. Alam ko na, para makapag-surf. Tama? Gamit ang cellphone. Para makapag-surf ang mga
ngayon,
sea
di ba may
creatures.
celebrate tayo?
Akalain
Halimbawa,
mo
sila
may
din.
isa-
Sila din
not
nagpa-party
once, but-
sila, ha?
Oo, totoo ba?
Oo, ang tawag
Oo.
sa party nila.
Oo, ano nga?
Celebration. Nagpapa-ano lang po kami, nagbibigay lang kami ng
Kala ko naman
konting-
seafood buffet. Tayo yun. That's how we celebrate.
Okay. Sa bagay, yung mga orca nga, nagpapalit ng diet.
Oo,
May
tama.
seafood buffet din siya.
Uy, teka muna, bago
meron ka
matapos
pa
ang
isa
gabi
pa?
ito, hindi, seryoso na to, bilang hindi naman natin palalampasin ang araw na ito para batiin ang ating mga manggagawa. Na, di ba, today is the day we commemorate and ipagkakapuri natin ang talaga namang hirap at pagod at pawis at dugo ng ating mga manggagawa.
Ayan, kaya happy celebration, Labor Day celebration to all of us.
Ayan, tama.
Ayan, kami, Ninina, hanggang mamaya pa po kami dito at mag-aabang pa kami ng mga balita.
Yes.
Pero tandaan ha, mula Lunes hanggang Biyernes, narito kami para maghatid ng balita sa anumang dako ng mundo. Magandang gabi, ako po muli si Ricky Matay.
Ako po si Nina Richie Alago Flores. Ito po ang mata ng Agila International. Para po sa iba pang mga balitang nangyari rin sa iba't ibang panig ng mundo, punta tayo kay Alma Angeles para sa NET25 World News. Take it away, Alma.
Thank you, Nina and Ricky. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alma Angeles for NET25 World News. On tonight's headlines. China's Navy conducted a patrol in the South China Sea on Tuesday, saying that the Philippines has been creating disturbances as the Philippine and U.S. Air Forces conducted their own joint mission above the disputed waterway. And we now turn to a deal finalized by the Trump administration, strongly pushed by the president himself.
I said, well, we want something for our efforts beyond what you would think would be acceptable. And we said rare earth. They're very good rare earth. As you know, we're looking for rare earth all the time.
And the news starts now. First to the Indo-Pacific region, where the Philippines and New Zealand have just solidified their defense partnership. The two nations strengthened defense ties with the signing of a landmark troop pact on Wednesday, opening the way for expanded military cooperation amid shared security concerns in the Indo-Pacific region. The status of visiting forces agreement signed in Manila by Philippine Defense Secretary Gilberto Teodoro and New Zealand Defense Minister Judith Collins allows the two nations to deploy troops on each other's soil, making it easier for their militaries to work together. New Zealand took part in joint maritime exercises with the Philippines, United States, Australia, and Japan for the first time last year in the South China Sea, where Manila and Beijing have repeatedly sparred over disputed areas. The signing of the SOVFA follows New Zealand's unveiling of a plan to boost defense spending by 9 billion New Zealand dollars over the next 4 years, and an aim to nearly double spending to 2% of GDP in the next 8 years. A review of New Zealand's security capabilities in 2023 called for more military spending and stronger ties with the Indo-Pacific nations to tackle issues of climate change and strategic competition between the West and China and Russia. Meanwhile, China's Navy conducted a patrol in the South China Sea on Tuesday, saying that the Philippines has been creating disturbances as the Philippine and U.S. Air Forces conducted their own joint mission above the disputed waterway. China, which claims almost the entirety of the South China Sea, has been involved an increasingly tense standoff with the Philippines in the waters there, as both seek to assert their sovereignty claims. More than 14,000 Filipino and U.S. soldiers are participating in joint exercises which run from April 21 through May 9 for a full battle test in the face of shared regional security concerns. China has said the drills are provocative. In a statement late on Tuesday, the Southern Theater Command of China's People's Liberation Army said its forces had that same day carried out routine patrols in the South China Sea without giving an exact location. The Philippine military, in its own statement late on Tuesday, said the Philippines and U.S. Air Forces had conducted a joint patrol over the South China Sea that day as part of ongoing defense cooperation. The maritime patrol involved 3 F-A-50 fighter jets from the Philippine Air Force, along with 2 U.S. B-1B bombers, 2 F-16s, and an F-18. Responding in a separate statement to the Chinese military's comments, the Philippine military said the armed forces stand firm in exercising their sovereign rights and partnerships with allies like the United States that reflect shared values. The conduct of joint exercises and maritime domain awareness operations within our territorial waters and exclusive economic zone is not a provocation. It is preparedness, it said, and then added, to be clear, the Philippines is a sovereign state. No foreign power can dictate how we defend our home or with whom we stand in solidarity. China's warning against alliances in the region. Beijing says it's opposed to any moves that create divisions or raise tensions. This after Japan and the Philippines discussed China's actions in the South and East China Seas and agreed to boost their security ties. Take a look.
China has always believed that exchanges and cooperation between countries should not target any third parties or harm the interests of third parties. This year marks the 80th anniversary of the victory of the Chinese People's War of Resistance against Japanese aggression and the World Anti-Fascist War. During World War II, Japan invaded and colonized the Philippines and other East Asian countries and occupied the South China Sea islands, which is a serious historical crime. We urge Japan to follow the path of peaceful development and act prudently in the field of military and security. We oppose any attempt to form cliques and factions in the region and escalate regional tensions. I also want to point out that China's sovereignty and related rights in the East China Sea and the South China Sea were formed in a long historical process and are in line with international law, including the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. China's activities in the relevant waters are reasonable and legal and beyond reproach.
To New Zealand now, where Wellington, the capital, is being hit by the strongest winds in more than a decade. The severe weather has already caused major disruptions, including flight cancellations and power outages. Take a look. Wellington is currently experiencing an extreme weather event. Gusts have reached up to 150 kilometers per hour at Mount Kau Kau, and strong winds are expected to continue through the afternoon and into the night. Authorities have issued a rare red level wind warning, emphasizing that this situation is a threat to life due to the danger of falling trees and flying debris. Residents are being urged to stay indoors and avoid unnecessary travel. And we're also hearing reports of widespread disruption. Around 1,000 homes are without power, and emergency crews are working tirelessly to clear fallen trees and repair damage, particularly in suburbs like Petone and Brooklyn, where some roofs have been torn off completely. Meteorologists are describing this as one of the most intense wind events to strike Wellington in over 10 years. The extreme weather is being driven by a combination of strong southerly winds, heavy rain, and high tides. The red warning remains in effect until early Friday morning, though forecasters anticipate the winds should begin to ease overnight. And we now turn to some dramatic scenes out of Western Australia, where a police standoff ended with a man driving his Jeep straight off a jetty and into the water, narrowly missing a police boat. Take a look. This all unfolded Wednesday morning at Claremont Jetty, just outside Perth. Police say the man's red Jeep was suspected to have been involved in an earlier traffic incident and when officers tried to approach, he drove onto the jetty, sparking a tense standoff that lasted for hours. The police air wing, water police, and tactical response officers were all called in as negotiators tried to talk the man down. But just before midday, things took a dramatic turn. The driver suddenly reversed, then accelerated straight toward a water police boat, flipping the jeep off the jetty and into the river. Amazingly, the man managed to climb out through a window and perched himself on top of the overturned vehicle for several minutes, talking with police from the water. Eventually, officers jumped in, pulled him to safety, and carried him off the jetty to a waiting ambulance. Authorities say the man, 32, has since been charged in connection with the incident. Local media also report that he may have been involved in an earlier armed robbery. Police are still investigating, but thankfully, no one was hurt in this wild encounter on the water. In Israel, a dangerous wildfire is unfolding near Jerusalem. The situation is so critical that a main highway has been closed, forcing people to evacuate their homes.
People drove through flames on a highway in central Israel as wildfires raged on the outskirts of Jerusalem on Wednesday. Nearby communities were forced to evacuate as Israel appealed for international help to fight the blaze. Video showed fires burning along the Route 1 highway from Jerusalem to Tel Aviv. Footage caught people abandoning their cars and running from flames as thick smoke billowed nearby. At least several people were injured, but there were no reports of fatalities. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Italy and Croatia were expected to send firefighting planes to help extinguish the flames. Israel also appealed to Greece, Cyprus, and Bulgaria, the foreign ministry said. Israeli media reported that at least 120 fire and rescue services had mobilized dozens of teams, aircraft, and helicopters to try to contain the blaze. The military said its search and rescue forces were assisting the operations. The fire broke out on Israel's Memorial Day for fallen soldiers, and many ceremonies marking the eve of its Independence Day were canceled.
Singaporeans are heading to the polls this Saturday, May 3rd, in a general election that marks a significant moment in the nation's political landscape. And this will be the first electoral test for Prime Minister Lawrence Wong, who took over the reins from longtime leader Lee Hsien Loong in May 2024. Take a look. The ruling People's Action Party, or PAP, is seeking renewed mandate amidst growing public concerns over housing affordability, the rising cost of living, and economic uncertainties fueled by global trade tensions, including U.S. tariffs.
We are in a changed world with turbulence all around, so there is much at stake in this election.
While the PAP has maintained a stronghold since Singapore's independence in 1965, its share of the popular vote has seen a decline, dropping to 61% in the 2020 elections. Analysts suggest that the party is keenly aware of the risks of complacency.
Well, I think the PAP is very, very conscious that, having been around for more than 6 decades, there's always the threat of becoming complacent and ossification. The key stalwarts of the People's Action Parties have been out trying to explain the ramifications of Trump's Liberation Day tariff regime and trying to convince people that it is indeed a very troubling development. Hence, I think it will be dependent on how the politicians try to help voters make sense of it, that you'll see if Singaporean voters feel that it is indeed something that they want to go back to the PAP and say, we want to give you a strong mandate to do what you can to respond to this.
The opposite Workers' Party, led by Pritam Singh, is aiming to capitalize on these sentiments, advocating for a more balanced political system and increased parliamentary diversity. Despite recent legal challenges, Singh remains eligible to contest in the upcoming election.
The Workers' Party has proven itself to be a loyal opposition in Parliament. Loyal not to the PAP, loyal to Singapore and the people of Singapore.
For many voters, especially the younger demographic, issues like housing affordability are top of mind.
You're dealing with Singaporeans who have very high expectations that their lives will improve from generation to generation. And how would you deliver that? The question is, if the opposition comes up with alternative views, how suitable are those? How practicable are those? Can they be absorbed? Are they fundamentally incorrect? And this requires, because of this period of change, very deep conversations that are required, across the island.
As the nation prepares for this pivotal election, the outcome will not only determine the composition of the next parliament, but also signal the public's confidence in the current leadership amidst evolving domestic and global challenges. And we now turn to a deal finalized by the Trump administration, strongly pushed by the president himself. Now, the agreement with Ukraine centers on giving the U.S. priority in accessing Ukraine's mineral resources, with President Trump emphasizing the strategic importance of those materials. Take a look.
The U.S. and Ukraine have signed a deal to give the United States preferential access to new Ukrainian minerals deals and fund investment in Ukraine's reconstruction. On Wednesday, the U.S. Treasury released a photo showing Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent signing the agreement in Washington with Ukrainian First Deputy Prime Minister Yulia Sviridenko. The Treasury said the deal, quote, clearly signals the Trump administration's commitment to a free, sovereign, prosperous Ukraine. U.S. President Donald Trump has strongly pushed for the deal, saying the U.S. should get something for its military aid to Ukraine, a line he repeated before the signing on Wednesday.
So I said, well, we want something for our efforts beyond what you would think would be acceptable. And we said rare earth. They have very good rare earth. As you know, we're looking for rare earth all the time. Rare earth is called rare for a reason. And they have a lot.
Ukraine is rich in natural resources, including those rare earth metals, which are used in a wide range of electronics. The country also has large reserves of iron, uranium, and natural gas.
You're not acting at all thankful.
The agreement is central to Kiev's efforts to mend ties with Trump and the White House, which frayed after he took office in January. The U.S. has been Ukraine's single largest military donor since Russia's 2022 invasion, and Ukrainian officials have hoped that the deal would ensure continued U.S. support for Ukraine's defense against Russia. As for the fund to reconstruct Ukraine, Sviridenko wrote on X that the deal provides for Washington to contribute to the fund, saying, quote, in addition to direct financial contributions, it may also provide new assistance, for example, air defense systems for Ukraine. Washington did not directly address that suggestion. It's all the result of months of sometimes fraught negotiations between the two countries, with uncertainty up until the last moment, with word of an 11th hour snag, which Bessent earlier in the day attributed to the Ukrainian side.
Yeah, our side is ready to sign. Ukrainians decided last night to make some last-minute changes. We're sure that they will reconsider that, and we are ready to sign this afternoon if they are.
A draft of the accord seen by Reuters earlier on Wednesday showed Ukraine secured the removal of any requirement for it to pay back the U.S. for past military assistance. The draft did not provide any concrete U.S. security guarantees for Ukraine, one of its initial goals.
And tonight, we're getting a look at the latest numbers on the U.S. economy, and it's not pretty. For the first time in 3 years, the economy shrank in the first quarter.
The U.S. economy contracted for the first time in 3 years in the first quarter, deepening concerns over the impact of President Donald Trump's tariffs. The negative GDP figure out Wednesday reflected a flood of imports as businesses raced to avoid higher costs from U.S. tariffs, underscoring the disruptive nature of Trump's often chaotic trade policy. The Republican president deflected blame for the unexpected contraction and said in a Truth Social post that Americans should be patient and that his tariffs would eventually lead to an economic boom. The Commerce Department said U.S. gross domestic product, the value of all goods and services, decreased at an annualized rate of 0.3%. That fell short of the 0.3% increase forecast by economists polled by Reuters. The reading came a day after a separate Commerce Department report showed the goods trade deficit surged to an all-time high in March. Imports jumped at a more than 40% rate, the largest rise since the third quarter of 2020 when the nation was in the throes of the pandemic. That obliterated a modest rise in exports, resulting in a large trade gap that chopped off a record 4.8 percentage points from GDP. Wednesday's report also reinforced Americans' growing disapproval of Trump's handling of the economy as he marks 100 days in office, with consumers' inflation expectations rising. Consumer confidence is near 5-year lows and business sentiment has tanked, while many companies have pulled their 2025 financial forecasts, citing uncertainty over the economic environment. Wall Street's main indexes opened substantially lower after the GDP report's release, but stocks recovered some ground by midday.
And let's turn now our attention to South Korea, where thousands of workers took to the streets on May Day to demand better treatment. In Seoul, tens of thousands of people gather for a big rally organized by the Korean Trade Union Confederation. And here you could really feel the determination as these workers spoke out about how tough it is with the rising cost of living, job insecurity, and the working conditions they're facing under the current government.
Join today's May Day rally with demands for the eradication of deep-rooted injustice, the resolution of past insurrections, and sweeping social reforms.
And it wasn't just Seoul. Similar protests happened in 15 other cities across South Korea, including Busan and Daejeon. It's important to note that migrant workers were also a big part of these demonstrations, calling for fair wages and better treatment. And we now go to Turkey, where May Day protests turned violent in Istanbul. Turkish police clashed with May Day protesters in Istanbul today, forcefully detaining some and dragging them away to buses. Unions and various NGOs had organized these protests with the main goal of marching to Taksim Square. Now, Taksim Square is a key location for these protests, but authorities have banned all demonstrations there. Police set up barricades in central areas of Istanbul, like Besiktas and Sisli, and when protesters tried to push through to reach Taksim Square, things got rough. Police pushed back and there were scuffles as they tried to stop the march. Protests are a regular thing in Istanbul and across Turkey every year on International Labor Day. Taksim Square is often the focal point, especially because of what happened there on May 1, 1977, when 34 people were killed during a demonstration. And the news continues here on NET25. We'll be right back.
Trask Construction, your trusted partner in hospital building. Trask Construction.
It's TV time as we hit the greens again for the third NET25 Golf Cup. Watch as friends meet the fairway, a spectacular showcase of sportsmanship and camaraderie among industry leaders, executives, and avid golfers. Only here on Open for Business.
Open for Business with Cesar Vallejos, Sunday, 9 p.m.
Sa NET25.
China's President Xi Jinping visited Shanghai and called for the city to accelerate efforts to turn itself into a technological and innovation hub with global influence, according to state news agency Xinhua. President Xi also urged the city to expand its exploration of AI models and said more supportive policies for the technology should be rolled out as he visited an incubation lab for AI startups and tried on a set of smart glasses. Although she did not reference the trade war started by U.S. President Donald Trump during his visit, the implicit message was clear. China can develop its own leading technology and has alternative markets. Xi's Shanghai trip, his first to China's main international financial hub since November 2023, comes at a time when the tariff fight with the U.S. has raised the stakes for global economic growth. And as Beijing pursues AI development in the wake of the global success of Chinese AI startup DeepSeek. The Los Angeles Lakers, who entered the Western Conference playoffs with considerable momentum, saw their season cut short last night. The Minnesota Timberwolves defeated them in Game 5 to win the series. Let's go to Eva Basalyahe in Los Angeles with the details.
Game 5 Lakers versus the Timberwolves sees LA eliminated from the playoffs. Despite being the odds-on favorites, the mighty Los Angeles squad could not overcome Minnesota's surging momentum. For most of the contest, the Lakers had no answer for the Wolves' active hands and hustle plays, outscoring LA 31-22 in the first quarter alone, with Minnesota at one point draining a trio of unanswered three-pointers. In the second, the Lakers made an impressive 11-2 run, but couldn't quite close the gap and headed into halftime still down 59-49. To the third we go, with LA finally showing signs of life, dropping 31 points to Minnesota's 22. The Lakers take their first lead of the game, but couldn't hold on to it and end the quarter still down by 1. The fourth quarter saw a flurry of lead changes, but ultimately Minnesota's fearless attacks at the rim proved decisive. The Timberwolves beat the Lakers 103-96.
Certainly disappointed and not something that I ever envisioned with this team. Having to go in and talk to them, after losing the first round. But give Minnesota a lot of credit. They're a really good basketball team.
Every season that I did not make it to the finals or did not win a championship has been a disappointment. So it'd be the same for me, it'd be the same off season of disappointment and unfulfillment, have an opportunity, to play longer and give yourself an opportunity to play for the Larry O'Brien Trophy. So nothing changes for me.
For now, the purple and gold lights at Crypto.com Arena are dimmed as LA heads into the break to rest, reflect, and when the time is right, gear up for the start of another thrilling NBA season. Reporting from the Crypto.com Arena in Los Angeles, California, Eva Basalyahe for NET25 World News.
Boston Dynamics' advanced humanoid robot Atlas is set to begin trial operations in Hyundai Motor Group's U.S. manufacturing facilities later this year, marking a significant step in integrating cutting-edge robotics into automotive production. The all-electric Atlas, capable of performing complex tasks like sorting car parts and maneuvering heavy loads, will be deployed at Hyundai's Meta plant in Georgia to test its capabilities in real-world factory settings. Atlas, unveiled in its electric form in April 2024, showcases elite athletic abilities, including running, crawling, and cartwheeling, enabled by custom-designed motors. Take a look.
Once we realized that we could design our own motors that would get us in the ballpark of elite athletes with a humanoid, that made it pretty exciting for us. And you might ask, well, why do we need to build elite athlete humanoids? And it's a very fair question. And we think that a lot of the jobs that you might want a humanoid to actually do are the kind of jobs where it's basically backbreaking labor for a person to do. These are really challenging, ergonomically unfit tasks that we ask people to do or need people to do right now. And we think that robots will be much better suited for those. So if you build a robot that is not only able to walk around and move two hands around in space, but it can, if needed, pick up a heavy load and move it around and do that for long durations of time, that'll just be strictly more valuable. Definitely, there's been some shifts in how we think about programming robots due to advancements in AI over the last several years. So figuring out how to bridge that gap so that we can take some of the smart reasoning generalization capabilities of VLMs and things like this that are making their way into everyone's lives, and apply that to physical intelligence on robots is sort of where the big research questions are. And if we do make progress in that in the next couple of years, that could be a real game changer. We all expect that the inevitable future is that robots, maybe not exactly like Atlas, but with the kind of capabilities that Atlas has, will be in our homes at some point. We expect that that's a pretty long horizon because I think the performance requirements for such systems are going to be quite high. There's real safety considerations there. And then there's just a lot of generalization probably required to actually perform tasks well in the home. And so I think that's inevitable. It's not what we're betting on for short term. So we have plans for later this year, putting Atlas into a Hyundai facility in the United States, just as a way to really prove out the current capabilities of the robot in the real context of the tasks that we care about solving over the next several years. So that's an important part of the development. But I also think that the development horizons for humanoids are going to be relatively long. Certainly, things like the rare earth materials ban and things like this are going to be quite challenging if you want to, assemble batteries and things like this, right? So it's certainly the case that we won't be immune to any of these issues. And so we're hoping that we come to some fast resolution so that we don't have to continue to navigate it.
But we really designed it to be a very high performance machine. And so we're interested in, again, being able to explore the very frontier of what's physically possible in humanoids, and everything, all the infrastructure that we've built around doing that, I think is a real accelerant that shows itself through the performance of Atlas already.
It's capable of all of the agility that HD Atlas had, but probably even more than HD Atlas.
And before I go, I would like to greet Brother Angelo Manalo. A very happy birthday po. From the bottom of my heart, again, happy birthday po sa inyo. And with that, we end tonight's broadcast. For everyone here on NET25, I'm Alma Angeles. Thank you all for joining us. Good night.